Help support Friendo Club by going to patreon.com/Steven Larson or clicking join at youtube.com/Steven Larson. Access to bonus episodes, question threads for the Going In Raw podcast, and entry to our monthly wrestling predictions challenges. Join the Friendo Club today. Hey, Friendo, Steve here.
Hey, Larson.
Welcome back to Going In Raw, the only pro wrestling podcast you need to be listening to. On today's episode, we're talking last night's AEW Dynamite on the road to Wembley. All in. Britt Baker's suspension has been lifted. And there's a bit of discourse going on right now on the old internet about that particular episode of Dynamite. We're going to talk about that and the current state of AEW All Elite Wrestling. But first, we've got a little bit of news, including updates on Kenny Omega, Kota Abushi, and a batch of free agents or upcoming free agents that WWE might be interested in. Also, we've got the latest on Bobby Lashley. Where would you like to start today, Larson?
Let's start with Bobby
Lashley.
So there's been a lot of talk in the recent weeks about the potential of Bobby Lashley exploring his options outside of WWE once his contract expires. And Fightful Select reported today that Bobby's contract is expiring this weekend.
What?
This weekend. So, I believe Fightful mentioned in their report that there is a lot of talk backstage about Bobby leaving WWE and that Bobby's been discussed backstage in AEW, so I'm sure there's going to be no shortage of people trying to sign Bobby Lashley. He's a phenomenal talent.
Yeah.
And, MVP's contract, I think, has expired already.
Mm-hmm.
Shelton Benjamin already a free agent. If they want to go someplace together, again, I would imagine there'd be numerous offers on the table from various companies to get the talents of Bobby Lashley, MVP, Shelton Benjamin, to reform Hurt Business. Can't use the name, but Hurt Business.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what the market would be like. You would think that there'd be some interest in it, or if people would just want Bobby Lashley. Remains to be seen. They were an incredibly popular faction. And Bobby Lashley, obviously, he's a first ballot Hall of Famer if there were first ballots there in the world of pro wrestling.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think anybody would be lucky to have Bobby Lashley, and it'll be interesting to see what he does at the age that he's at. Is he interested in continuing on, outside of the WWE? Or would he just be interested in hanging out and doing other stuff and pursuing other interests? I don't know. But, world's his oyster, man. He's Bobby friggin' Lashley.
I know. Exactly. So, Lashley, potentially someone finishing up with WWE, going elsewhere. Let's talk about people wrestling elsewhere, possibly ending up in WWE. Ooh. Namely, current AEW talents going to WWE. So, following reports that the Lucha Brothers and Daniel Garcia's contracts are expiring soon, PW Insider reported today that WWE are certainly interested, that's the quote, in a number of AEW talent, including Ricky Starks and Daniel Garcia. On a recent Wrestling Observer Radio, Dave Meltzer spoke about Starks' TV absence, saying the following. These transcripts come to you from Wrestling Inc. Quote, they wanted him to turn babyface. He didn't want to turn babyface. They're not using him. I think there's a lot of people who think he's headed to WWE because of Cody, and so they're not investing in him right now. I think that's basically the mindset. We'll see what happens. It's weird that Starks has been off TV for so long. I think I read since March.
Golly. Yeah,
been on TV.
Dude, he's an exciting character. He's a very charismatic guy. People love Ricky Starks. Even if you had the inkling that 6 months from now, talking about back in February, March or whatever, he was going to be gone. Okay, well, that's a long time that you can do stuff to, elevate other people even. If Ricky Starks wanted, there's a guy who's sticking around, Big Bill. If Ricky Starks was like, no, man, I don't want to make Big Bill look bad or bury Big Bill, cool. Use Ricky Starks to get Big Bill over then. Use Ricky Starks. It's crazy that that nothing could be found for him. But it's just, there's also, there is also the who knows who's right in this situation, or not who's right, but who knows what the real story is in this situation.
Absolutely.
Is it just personalities unable to come together, egos unable to come together? And I don't even mean that in like a negative way. It's just everybody has their own sensibilities and what they want to be able to, what they want to do. We're not privy to those conversations. So, who knows what the real story is. I just, knowing me as a fan, I like having Ricky Starks on my television when I turn on my stories. And if Paul Levesque is interested in using him, man, I think that'd be awesome.
It would be. And we don't know how much time Ricky has left on his deal. And if he hasn't, considering he hasn't been on TV since the end of March, it was March 30th, apparently. Let's say he has till the end of the year left on his contract. And, he want Bill to look poorly in a feud. As you mentioned, in one respect, have Bill go over that. Mm-hmm. Then he wouldn't look bad. But, if you have Ricky Starks under contract for several more months, hypothetically speaking, that's an opportunity to put forth creative that might be interesting to him and therefore lead him to possibly stay. There is
that as well. If you're using the guy in a really cool way, maybe he'll be like, hey, you know what? I do want to help build. I mean, you got all these great new signees. If you're using him in the same manner as you're using some of these other guys, I mean, look, I know MJF is a big deal and everything, but like, I don't know. I could see him in this Osprey thing instead of MJF. I guess for several reasons. MJF is a big deal. I get it. He's former world champion, and they want Osprey to be elevated to that level. So maybe that's a bad example, but the bottom line is Starks is people. That dude can do anything. That guy could be good guy. That guy could be bad guy. You give him something good to work with, and he's going to make it even better.
Yep, exactly. So let's talk about Lucha Brothers now. So yesterday, Fightful Select reported that sources indicated to them that AEW has been trying to re-sign the Lucha Brothers, but, quote, the process kept getting delayed by Penta and Phoenix, and AEW is now of the belief that they don't want to re-sign with the company. So Fightful is also able to confirm that there have been discussions within WWE about bringing in the Lucha Brothers, and sources also told Fightful that Penta and Phoenix want to be a, quote, package deal, and they don't want to go to NXT. Mm-hmm. Fightful adds that sources close to Lucha Brothers have indicated that Penta and Phoenix have been, quote, pretty open in claiming they've already had talks with WWE and that there is apparently a preliminary contract offer that has some similarities to what AEW has offered them.
NXT, I don't think that'd be a good fit for them. Like, I just don't. I don't know. Well, we don't know what it's going to look like come October on the CW, but yeah, I don't know. Like, I mean,
the one advantage that NXT would have over main roster is that they actually book the tag division fairly well.
Yeah, there's also a matter of, hey, if they come in, maybe it'll force main roster to book the tag division better. Maybe they could become new members of Judgment Day. I don't know. They could be the latest edition of the new Bloodline, Larson.
Put your ones up for Penta and Phoenix.
Penta and Hawaii. Ray Fatu. Anyways, yeah, I don't, either they'll get like a big rollout, or they'll get a big rollout and they'll be nowhere in 6 months. I don't know, because you're right.
They'll be wrestling on speed or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, they don't really book the tag division all that great. But maybe an infusion of talent will help that situation. I'll believe it when I see it. The sad thing is, dude, right? There's not a lot of great options for tag teams if you want a big stage these days.
No.
Because it's not like AEW's doing a killer job either.
They're not. Their tag champions haven't been on TV in a while. You have the Acclaimed and FTR feuding over who's facing the Young Bucks, while the Acclaimed earn a number one contendership. And they earned that months ago. This isn't the first time that things have gotten weird when someone has won the number one contendership, the tag titles. It's happened before.
It's happened like multiple times before.
It has. So, yeah, it's AEW's tag division is a mess. I mean, a lot of the strides they've made of late in terms of their creative. One thing that hasn't made strides is the booking of the tag division. But we'll get more into AEW creative later because, as you kind of teased beginning of the show, there was some chatter on social medias about whether the feeling has been lost in AEW because of one kind of middle-of-the-road episode. What?
I love that you can't say that because I can't without smiling. Anyways, oh man. Let's talk about Kenny Omega because he's one of our favorite wrestlers.
Oh,
of the
Kenny
last
is great.
10 years, man. Come on, he's awesome. So
is Kot Abushi. Kot Abushi's fantastic.
He is awesome. Following a tweet from Kot Abushi, which indicated that he'd be making his AEW return once Kenny Omega came back from surgery due to his bout with diverticulitis. Dave Meltzer, the Wrestling Observer himself, which tomorrow he's going to be doing his star ratings for
which means we have to
SummerSlam.
react. Who's in the hot seat? I forgot.
Oh, I don't know, dude. I want to say I know at some point it's going to be flipped where I'm going to be doing
The
WWE
WWE shows and I'm doing the AEW shows.
Right,
yeah.
but I don't know if that's here at SummerSlam
I'll
or
have to
not.
check. I'll check.
We'll
after we're
find
done.
out here.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I don't know. We'll figure it out. Anyways, so Dave Meltzer talked on the latest Wrestling Observer Radio about the timeline that we might get a Golden Lovers reunion there in AEW. He says basically when Kenny Omega returns, Ibushi is returning. He basically said he's under a contract there and he's waiting for Omega to return for him to return. I don't know if there's ever a date of when Omega will return. Put it this way, I don't think it's so far away as before when I would talk about it and go like, I don't even want to think about it. It's a long ways away. He's getting better. I know that. I actually looked up the surgery that he had. Usually for a wrestler, it's about a 4-month recovery. A lot of wrestlers push it and probably come back quicker. But that would be like mid-September. But he had a lot, he didn't just have the hernia problem. I mean, he had a lot of different problems. But like I said, he is coming back. That's pretty much the word. And I don't think it's like months and months away. I don't want to say this because I feel stupid saying it because he has not told me anything in this regard. But just the vibe I have is it'll be before the end of the year. And before that, it was just like he'll be back, but who knows when. So
Dave went
vibes.
on WebMD.
Meltzer vibes from WebMD.
Yeah, WebMD to see recuperation time for surgery because of diverticulitis. And I don't know if there's a pull-down menu there where I don't know. But anyways, I mean, if the idea, whether it's based on WebMD research or backstage information that Kenny Omega could be back by the end of the year, that's great news. First and foremost is his health. Mm-hmm. And you'd assume if he's preparing to return to the ring, then he must have got his health in order, and that's first and foremost great news. I know Kot Abushi had been wrestling a little bit in DDT after he broke his ankle.
Yeah.
And if he is back healthy for the first time in years, ever since he tore up his shoulder in the G1. And Kenny's back healthy. Potential for some good stuff in AEW.
Yeah. Once again, I'll kind of believe that one when I see it.
Yeah, I know.
Because, look, these guys spent almost like 20 years now. They're just absolutely killing themselves.
They've got a lot of mileage on them, yes.
A ton. And I know Kot Abushi probably fancies himself some sort of otherworldly being. But he's a guy. I know that.
He is but a man, yes.
I saw that last match of his when he was like wrestling 30 minutes on a broken ankle, and it was hard to watch.
Yeah, it was hard to watch. It was.
It ain't 2017 anymore.
No.
And I want these dudes to be healthy and happy. For Kenny's sake, that dude, he lays it all out there, but I'm wondering if there's the possibility. I don't know about Kot Abushi. He's such a unique individual. And Kenny is too, but I wonder if with Kenny, there's a way for him to alter the style of his in-ring so that he can look. The guy is like one of the best storytelling wrestlers on the planet.
Yeah.
So if I thought anybody could come back from the laundry list of issues he's had and put on just absolutely compelling stories in the ring, I have faith that Kenny Omega can do it.
Absolutely.
I don't know that Golden Lovers storyline is something that I was scrolling through Twitter. I saw this And I kind of agree with this. Ibu from WrestlePurist said, respectfully, this dampens my enthusiasm for an Omega return. I feel like every time I see Kenny in AEW, he's saddled with an anchor of some kind. Last year was Jericho. Now it'll be having to keep the remains of Kot Abushi afloat on television, which is kind of a harsh way to put it. But I don't know that story has any oomph to it anymore, you know? I love Kenny Omega, and I like Kota Ibushi, but like Kenny as a character just on his own can be very, very entertaining. And, you know, the Golden Lever stuff, it's so in the past, and it's so just buried in New Japan and DDT stuff. Like, I don't know that it really holds. Every time Kota Ibushi's been on AEW TV, it's just been kind of underwhelming. And that, granted, that's a lot of the way that AEW just sort of presents him in an underwhelming
partially
manner.
that, and also that you could tell that he wasn't 100%. You know, if he was
yeah,
out
absolutely,
there
yeah, sure,
putting on the caliber of matches that he anywhere close to the caliber of matches he did in the past, it would be different.
yeah.
You know, and I mean, it wouldn't be enough to overcome the presentation issues where, you know, he's kind of presented as just another dude as opposed to Kota Ibushi, you know. But if he was out there putting on awesome matches, well, at least we're going to get that. But during the handful of appearances he made in AEW, you can just tell he wasn't fully back from that shoulder injury.
And I don't
he
know.
He wasn't the same explosive, dynamic athlete. Maybe he never will be because, yeah, he's put his body through a lot. He's getting up there in age. And, you know, you mentioned Kenny being able to adapt his in-ring style to accommodate whatever physical limitations he might have based on wear and tear of the body and age. Well, will Kota Ibushi be able to do that as well?
Here's kind of the difference, though, as we sit here talking about it. Kenny brought more to the equation than simply, wow, look at these matches.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
From a character standpoint, Kenny Omega literally can not wrestle and just be a character, and I'll be entertained as hell because he's a funny dude, especially when he's a bad guy. He's hilarious. And I just find him to be a compelling character. For me, Kota Ibushi was always like, this guy he's pretty interesting. He's pretty out there. I always know we're going to get some crazy ass shit in the ring. And that's like 99% of the draw. If he's not what he was before, if he's not doing that, my interest in him as a character is kind of minimal. Kenny Omega, on the other hand, he can go out there and put on 2.5 star WWE bangers. As long as he's on the mic saying 69 me, Don, I'll be fucking cracking up. I won't give a shit because the character of Kenny Omega is a lot to me.
You know what they should do with Kota Ibushi's character in AEW? It's him living the 25 hours a day thing.
I thought that was the craziest shit I've ever heard.
Like, if he drops a promo and explains that, and then, like, they do a thing where he's scheduled for an appearance on Dynamite, he shows up an hour late, you know?
So for the people who don't know what we're talking about, it was like a panel that he was on.
Yeah,
right,
I don't know if he was joking about it, but he was saying he's trying to get so he gets an extra hour a day. So he says he lives a 25-hour a day existence, essentially. So every day he goes to bed an hour later
than the day previous.
Therefore,
so
he gets
an
that
extra hour out of the day. But
which at some point that would have to conflict with his wrestling schedule. That's the thing.
Well, that's the thing also. But like by that logic, does he wake up at the same time every day? Because that physically at that point would be impossible.
Yes.
Like what he's talking about is physically,
which makes me feel like that he's kind of joking about it. But
I don't know how much of him is. I mean, he's the Andy Kaufman of wrestling.
Oh yeah,
because it's like, what is real with this guy? Fascinating individual, he really is. But yeah, from a character standpoint, look, we saw Kenny Omega wrestling his ass off with, you know, just littered with injuries, and we've also seen him when. You know, he hasn't been able to wrestle and he's just on the microphone, and I just find him to be a compelling character.
Oh, absolutely.
Incredibly entertaining. So revisiting Golden Lovers, I don't know about all that, but bring me back Kenny Omega. I think he's terrific.
All right.
Anyways, before we get on with this Dynamite discourse, Larson.
Yeah.
You want to pay some bills?
Let's do it.
All right.
This episode of Going in Raw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Steve, I'm ecstatic. I'm happy. You're coming around to the idea, the old saying when it comes to working out, one that I've adopted. Never skip leg day. Let me hear it. Did you do legs this week?
No, I skipped them.
Why?
Not
it's
a priority
important.
of mine.
It's essential.
No,
you got to do it.
My arms and chest, that's essential.
You don't even do back.
Yeah, I do that too. No legs.
Do legs. Come on. In a similar fashion, you also shouldn't skip out on taking care of yourself and establishing your self-care non-negotiables. And while I make it a priority these days to get my leg workouts in, I haven't always been as diligent about taking the time to prioritize what makes me happy.
And I think I can speak for both of us when I say that we're incredibly busy, man. This YouTube business, this podcasting business, every day, every week, our schedules are packed with work stuff. And, of course, we're family guys, so it's packed with family stuff. It's not even including school, hasn't even started yet. When your schedule is so packed, it's easy to let those priorities slip.
That's right, but when you feel like you have so little time for yourself, it makes things like therapy all the more important. And I've mentioned this before on the show. Back in my mid-20s, I was dealing with severe anxiety, and therapy helped get my life back on track, allowing me to learn the skills I needed to better cope with my anxiety and help me establish my self-care non-negotiables.
And if you're thinking about starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. BetterHelp is completely online and designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited for your schedule. All you got to do to get started is fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist, and then you can switch therapists at any time for no additional charge.
So never skip therapy day with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/raw today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/raw.
So, last night's Dynamite, Larson. It seems to be, like, bizarrely, for being a fairly middle-of-the-road episode of Dynamite.
Lambasted on social media, but in certain corners of social media.
What is this? Lambasted.
What is this? Is garbage. You know, I've seen takes about the show last night not being good, and I'm like, I'm watching this. It's a middle-of-the-road episode of Dynamite. There were apparently travel issues because there's a hurricane hitting the East Coast now. This show's in North Carolina. Mm-hmm. So it's a compromised vision of what Tony Khan intended this show to probably be. Even with that being said, there was a good amount to like on Dynamite last night. I thought it was a hell of a performance for Kyle Fletcher last night in that match against MJF. Was really good, yeah. You know, we've seen him put on really good matches before, but I don't know if we've seen a showcase match to this extent. Wait, didn't he face Ospreay early on when Ospreay's in AEW?
Yeah, it was like the second match that he had, I think. Or it was like the first
TV match.
It was the first match. Yeah, I think it was the first TV match he had. Yeah.
So after he officially signed. So it's the second kind of showcase match for Kyle Fletcher. And Kyle Fletcher hit an absolute home run in this one. And I'm just not talking about like the crispness of the actual wrestling, like the emotion, advancing the story heading into Ospreay's match against MJF at All In. I thought that match was really good. I'm not going to argue when Jeff Jarrett, dude, what people are like upset that Jeff Jarrett's in the main event of Dynamite without understanding the reasons why. You know, and it bugs me because it's all laid out on TV if you're paying attention. Why Jeff Jarrett's in the spot, and partially is, as he said, I want to make sure you're ready, Bryan Danielson, for All In. But it's more than that. It's his friendship with Owen Hart and what winning that tournament means to Jeff Jarrett.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
you know, and the whole idea is you won this tournament, Bryan Danielson. I want to make sure now that you're fully invested in seeing this all the way through and winning the title. I think it's been a really good use of Jeff Jarrett on TV.
I'm never going to complain about Jeff Jarrett being in the main event. That's a personal thing. That's you and I are Jeff Jarrett fans. I'm honestly trying to find some of this because I know it's out there. I get that it's out there. I know there was, and look, we're friends with the Wrestle Talk guys. I did see a lot of pushback to, I guess they had a thumbnail for the podcast review that said, has AEW lost the feeling? The vibes are down because of like backstage drama, which is an interesting take. And I did not watch the podcast. I don't watch any wrestling stuff except for us.
So don't want to say
pro
anything
wrestling
without having the
bios.
full picture of the discussion. Obviously.
Right.
I can only speak for. We can only speak for our thoughts on the show that we saw. We've talked plenty about the recent backstage issues. You know, the Britt MJF stuff. You know, and disagreements happen in any workplace. You know, it was dealt with by AEW HR seemingly, and hopefully that's that. They put the issue to rest. They dealt with the issues that were outstanding, and they all can move on in a professional manner. You know, and the subtext, a lot of the talk of people wanting to leave AEW is, well, obviously they're not happy there. You know, they're not happy with how they're being utilized. I get that. There's people in WWE who probably ain't happy about how they're being utilized either.
Yeah, I saw like a YouTube thumbnail out there. It was like Tony Khan's poor leadership led to the Britt Baker suspension because of backstage drama. And I'm like, well, I mean, an incident happened and then a person was suspended. There was like an investigation. I think that's like decent leadership right there because
I mean,
like,
it's a massive improvement from how things used to be conducted backstage.
Right,
it seems like
whatever happens.
They've realized there's an issue with the structure of the backstage environment in AEW, and they've taken measures to address those issues. Seemingly,
now that said, yeah, like I don't know what the morale is like backstage or whatever.
Idea.
Like we're not there, so we don't know. But But yeah, no, I don't know. It's just like a little bit. It's like a little scuffle. I think that Dynamite was it was mid last night. Like you mentioned, there's travel issues. I think they're coming off a run of really good ones. I think All In is looking like it's going to be a really good show. And for all we know, next week, I think like for me, the thing that they have that this week, again, I don't know about the travel issues, but I think last week also they were missing. But like the Elite.
Yeah, I don't know why they're not on TV.
They've really pumped the brakes on the Young Bucks and Okada. And, I mean, this week we got a Jack Perry Taco Bell ad integration, which was an interesting approach.
Well, only if you lived in certain markets, apparently.
Right.
Because us on the West Coast didn't get that.
Right, sadly. But yeah, so that was pretty amusing. So yeah, I don't know. They have sort of pumped the brakes on like that. That was the A story, and I get it. They went through blood and guts, you know.
Yeah.
And maybe they shouldn't be back the very next week, but like everybody else is back. Like Swerve is there, Hangman's around.
Yeah, Mark Briscoe's
Darby's
been around.
everywhere
This week because of travel issues, but like
right,
pretty much all the other competitors in blood and guts are back in wrestling at this juncture.
Yeah. So I'll be honest, man. Like, yeah, it was a mid episode, but for people to then explode and be like, oh, it's all off now. It's all weird now. I get it. Like clicks, you know, the negative stuff for AEW gets clicks. And, you know, we try to be as honest as we can. But, you know, from a business perspective, would it benefit us to be like, you know, put a thumbnail up that says this is garbage? Probably. But, you know, again, we try to approach things from an honest point of view.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I thought it was okay. I thought it was fine. Like there was nothing on here on the show there. I mean, there was the 6-man tag. I was like, nah, do we need this? You know, I still am not entirely sure what the genesis of, or what the reason why Roderick Strong, Roosh, and Mortis are all a thing. But, you know, they are.
Yeah, I don't know.
So there you go. I could do without Chris Jericho on my TV.
Yeah.
But yeah, otherwise, I don't know. Maybe they'll come back stronger next week because maybe the travel issues won't be an issue.
Yeah. Remains to be seen. I guess we can just jump right into it. Show opened up with MJF taking on Kyle Fletcher. Will Ospreay's watching backstage in a room. That's an important detail for later.
It is, yes.
Really good match. Gave it about 20 minutes. And just a standout performance from both, but really for Kyle Fletcher. You know, he only gets a handful of opportunities on AEW TV to showcase what he can do. And, you know, this is probably the second time this year, first being a match against Ospreay, where, you know, he's allowed to showcase the full breadth of his talents and a hell of a performance, man. A hell of a performance. If they get the character and the presentation nailed for Kyle Fletcher, he's got the wrestling aspect. And as we saw last week, he can drop a promo.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting. Kind of going back to like our first news story or second one about the free agent stuff. It's going to be interesting if AEW is able to hold on to these sort of homegrown stars. I know he had a career before AEW, with the tag team with Mark Davis, but seeing him grow in AEW, I wonder if similar to Daniel Garcia, maybe to a degree Ricky Starks, he's a little bit older than those guys, but if AEW is going to have a hard time holding on to some of those guys, because it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't. Are you supposed to not push Will Ospreay and Okada and Swerve and push younger guys like Daniel Garcia, Kyle Fletcher to the moon when they're not that established, to try to prevent them from going somewhere else? That's kind of a tightrope.
Yeah.
But again, I think it boils down to faith in the product, faith in the creative. What are you guys doing actively to ensure that I'm going to stay in a prominent position? And if they don't have that faith, which, again, it is sort of the thing where Chad Gable says, yeah, Triple H trying to get everybody involved. I've heard this before, but then he sees the proof in the pudding.
Yeah.
If you see a situation where it seems like, oh, they know how to utilize a larger roster, as opposed to AEW, where it's like, they still got me doing this dancing thing, from time to time. Isn't it not Fletcher? That's Garcia. But are they going to get Fletcher to a point where he's like, you know what? I've grown kind of as much as I am here. Time to go somewhere else. And they're going to be losing out on the young talent. Remains to be seen.
It does. It remains to be seen. Yeah.
But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what strides are made to ensure that Kyle Fletcher is creatively in a situation where you're going to see development and growth in a tangible way, where you'll see him within a year get to like where MJF was when things started in AEW, Because I think
the
at that
track
point, maybe
record
comparably they'll be the same age. I don't know.
The track record is in regards to creative like that is mixed.
It is, yeah.
Because you see someone, for example, the names we mentioned earlier about potentially going to WB. You can think a lot of the reasons that they're unhappy potentially is lack of opportunities creatively or interesting creative.
Yeah.
Especially in the case of Ricky Starks, like it's always been start-stop with him, and he seemed like he was primed for a huge role on Collision until Punk got fired.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then since then, it was the awkward tag title win over FTR. And then once they dropped the belts, he was basically off TV.
Same thing. I know he's injured now, but Hobbs seemed on Collision like he was going to become like a big force there.
Yeah.
And granted, he got injured, but pre-Collision, like it was, again, kind of like ups and downs with him.
Yep.
So how's that going to work out?
Yep.
So yeah, you need to foster an environment where, when you look at, for example, and I know I'm just sort of throwing this name out there, but a Dominic Mysterio, where he was in 2020, where he is here in 2024, I mean, that dude can't be anything but ecstatic. He's got to be super happy about that. And I'm not saying that everybody's going to be like that, because there's plenty, look at Cedric Alexander, Ashanti Adonis, like they're back in NXT now. I don't know if they're going to be, a year from now, are they going to be super happy about their position? So it goes both ways.
It does. Absolutely. Absolutely. We have someone like Ricochet who is seemingly on his way to AEW, probably because he just didn't like the opportunities he thought he should get in WWE just weren't there.
Yeah. That's a little different. The Ricochet really should be where the best wrestle, because that's like 90% of his thing is just wrestling. It'll be interesting to see if when he gets to AEW, if there's going to be any change in his actual character presentation. I thought there was a couple things they could have done with him, and they just didn't. Especially like in that last little chunk of his run, there were like little flashes of like, oh, wait a second, do you have like a character? You have like a personality? And then they just don't do anything with it. So I don't know. He should have been like in the Hurt Business or something. Anyways, yeah. So after the match, let's see here.
So MJF gets the win with Brainbuster. So what the finish sucks. So Don Callis is on commentary. So Kyle hits MJF with a tombstone. Callis leaves commentary, distracts the ref, and throws a screwdriver towards Kyle Fletcher on the ring. So Kyle picks it up and he's thinking he'll use it on MJF because Kyle still has the ref distracted. Can't bring himself to do it, throws it out of the ring. MJF hits him with a low blow, a kangaroo kick, a brain buster. So we cut backstage, and Ospreay's like, I better get out there because he knows what's coming. MJF is going to lay out Kyle Fletcher. He tries to leave the room, but the door is somewhat blocked by a bunch of road cases. So he pushes through all that and runs towards the ring. So we're back in there. MJF blasts the ref, Paul Turner, I believe, with the American title. He puts on the Dynamite Diamond ring and punches Fletcher with it, and then hits him with ground and pound. He's just punching repeatedly head with the ring, and he's shouting towards camera, "The blood is on your hands, Ospreay. Now I'm going to do what you didn't have the balls to do, Will." So he picks up Fletcher and is looking to hit a Tiger Driver 91. By that point, Ospreay gets in the ring, slides in. MJF leaves. So Ospreay's calling for the doctor to come in the ring and check on Fletcher, and he's cradling Kyle Fletcher's head in his arms.
Super effective, finishing segment there between these two.
Yeah.
That's going to be a hell of a match at All In. They're doing a pretty decent job building this.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just need to stop with the really lengthy MJF promos, and then we'll be good.
Yeah.
After that, we had a video package for Jeff Jarrett, Bryan Danielson for the main event. And then we had Mariah May versus Viva Van making her AEW debut, I believe.
At least Dynamite debut.
Yeah. Mariah May gets the win, as she has been recently, with Storm Zero, running Nina Storm Zero. And then a production guy comes in and hands Mariah May a gift from Toni Storm. She opens it. It's a big picture. It's like a huge, like
poster size
picture. Yeah. Of Tony hugging Mariah May. On the back, it says, "Die, Mariah, die." Well, obviously, Mariah May is not too happy about that. Tony gets in there and attacks Mariah May. May knees Tony in the gut, gets the shoe. Tony grabs it from her. She's about to blast her in the head with it, but the refs and security break it up. Tony gets free for a second, but gets held back. May breaks free. They brawl for a minute before they're both separated.
Yeah.
More.
Then we had Jack Perry video package, and it was pretty well put together. It was like a wall, if you will, of old TVs that were playing various things, stuff from Blood and Guts, other images from
him
Jack
getting
Perry's
lit on fire,
recent history. Yeah. And he's talking about sacrifice and whatnot, and eventually he takes a sledgehammer and busts it up.
He says every man has his price, and he's talking about chalupas and stuff. So he's evidently obsessed now with Taco Bell, which I think is a great. Remember there was that one, his name Alex something or other. He was really into Taco Bell.
Oh yeah. Alex Zane? That was his name?
Zane, thank you. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So Scapegoat
that was his whole gimmick.
now. And Scapegoat is all about the Mexican pizza, the chalupas. Frito's burrito.
That's not on the menu anymore, I don't think.
Right. You had what is the thing? Crunchwrap Supreme.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then it all smelled like when you're in your car with it, it smells like somebody farted. But then when you're eating it, it's so good. But then immediately after it's down in your belly, you feel like absolute trash. Unless we got a sponsorship from Taco Bell, in which case it'd be amazing. You'd feel like $1 million. We do like a little sponsorship thing where it's like, hey, let's eat some Taco Bell and then go play some basketball.
There we go. Yeah.
And don't show the part where we're soiling ourselves all over the basketball.
Yeah, mid-game.
Mid 3-point shootout.
Yeah. So after the Jack Perry video package, we got a Darby Allin promo. He says, "Last time me and Jack were in the ring together, people asked me why I just didn't light him on fire and end this whole thing. It's simple. Then, Jack, you'd have an excuse not to show up to Wembley." Says, "You're the TNT champ. I don't remember the last time you were on TNT. You talk about sacrifices. You don't have to sacrifice any more of your time. You don't have to show up on Dynamite or Rampage this Friday when I wrestle or a Collision. But you do have to show up at All In at Wembley." Then we got Brian Keith, Bad Apple, taking on Katsuyori Shibata. Unfortunately, Chris Jericho is on commentary for this match.
Mm-hmm.
Otherwise, this match was fun. Shibata gets the win. After hitting STO, he puts on the claw and then transitions to the cross arm breaker. Keith taps. This is a fun match if you like seeing people get their arms worked, because Keith was working Shibata's arm and then Shibata was working Keith's arm because they both had bad arms coming in the match.
A genre of wrestling.
Working arms. So then Bill runs the ring, attacks Shibata. Jericho and Keith join in. Jericho setting up to blast Shibata with FTW title when Hook's music hits.
Yeah.
He sprints the ring, throws Bill to the floor, hammers Jericho with a bunch of punches. Jericho escapes, and Hook checks on Shibata and then picks up the FTW title and is yelling at Jericho, "This belongs to me."
Yeah. Like, literally, I think it probably does. Belongs to his family anyways.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, I think Taz, actually owns it. So, yeah.
Probably Taz's possession.
Yeah.
Who do you think travels with it? Do you think Jericho travels with it, or do you think he just hands it back over to Taz? Jericho probably travels with it.
Yeah, I would imagine. Although, given his track record traveling with title belts, maybe it's not a good idea.
If you're Taz, you might be like, "Hey, don't run a sloppy shop. Put an Apple tag on that thing."
Or if you're going to go to get a steak dinner, at least drop the title off somewhere so it's safe.
Yeah, right. Well, I would think Jericho's probably learned his lesson on that one. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe not. After that, we had an Orange Cassidy interview. Renee says, "You're scheduled for a rematch from last week, but the rest of the conglomeration isn't here. What are you going to do?" He says, "I'm still going to do it. I found a couple of local boys who are looking for a fight."
They're in Carolina. We know it's the SFTR. We know that.
Say yeah.
We go hard.
We go hard. Then we had a Hangman Page interview. He's probably my favorite AEW character, Larson.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So Renee asked about losing to Darby Allin. He's like, "There's been one man that I wanted to take everything that I could from him, to leave him with nothing but the ash of his pride. But for that one man, there's been a dozen or more other dumbasses who've gotten my way. Justice delayed is justice denied. But look at me and believe me when I tell you, I will have what I want."
Yeah, Hangman's doing great work.
Oh, man.
Follow that up with Swerve getting interviewed by JR.
"Hey, Swerve, we're going to have an interview now. Let me ask you something. Those tight leather pants of yours, do they rub up against your hog?" "Why would you ask me that, JR? I'm the world champion." "Oh, man, let's talk about something else then." Anyways, so yeah, this is a cool interview. I'm trying to see like sort of the bits and pieces here. The thesis essentially. His thesis. I mean, basically, like he's asked about how physical Danielson is in the ring. He says, "People are forgetting how physical this match is going to be. I was sitting back on my couch watching Danielson kick people's teeth out. I know what he has left in him, and that's why he's fighting as hard as he is, especially against me. He knows how hard he has to fight against me." And JR's like, "He's wrestling this match like it's going to be his last." Swerve says, "Before we even get to the AEW title, if that wasn't enough of a prize and motivator for Bryan, now it's about legacy. Legacy's on the line, and he's running to a crossroads. Who is he without any of this? He needs something to get up in the morning and fight for, and without it, who is he? If I was in the same situation as him and the roles were reversed, would he give a damn about me?" And JR says, "Certainly not. Would anybody on this roster give a damn that I was going to be on my way out? No, they shouldn't." And Swerve says, "They shouldn't. So why should it?" He says, "Why should I? I'm in the driver's seat now. I control the narrative. I control this company. That's what worries people about me holding this, and it should worry Bryan as well. Do I care about him being a father? No. Do I care about him being a parent coming home in a brie? Not really. Nah. And then JR says, "This is going to be your toughest match?" Or he says, "I think this is going to be your toughest match." Swerve's like, "Why do you believe that? What happens when his body gives out of him? How will he defend himself? What if the nerves in his arms don't work anymore? His neck seizes on him. Everybody always talks about what they're going to do to inflict pain on somebody else. That's what makes him so dangerous. What do you do when none of that works? Because you can't work." And JR says, "Can you beat him?" Swerve says, "Not only can I beat him, I will beat him. And then his legacy belongs to me."
Yeah, it was good stuff from Swerve.
Who do you see winning that match?
I feel like if it's just a straight up one-on-one match, Swerve will win. You know, you can't dismiss the idea that Hangman will try to get involved. And given that, you know, and maybe this is reading too much into it, typically Bryan Danielson wears a white t-shirt. Last week, he had a black one on. Is that foreshadowing? Don't know. The possibility of a Danielson heel turn. That's something nothing we saw necessarily last night would seem to lead me to believe that's forthcoming per se. But you would think Danielson and Swerve are so particular about the details of basically everything that I think down to what color of t-shirt they had on meant something.
Yeah.
But again, it could not. I don't know.
Yeah. We shall see. After that, we had Orange Cassidy and Say Yeah.
Yeah.
FTR. Jack Cash Wheeler. And
Man,
Dax.
his arms are massive now.
They are huge.
Massive.
They are huge. Versus Roosh, Beast Mordos, Roderick Strong. Once again, denied backstage vignette or a vignette at Roderick Strong's home with all these guys hanging out, building the chemistry you need for success.
Because success was not to be had in this bout for them.
Right, yeah. Roosh ate an orange punch, 2 orange punches, and then a shatter machine. Takes the L here for Team Strong Mortis.
Fairly surprising because, they brought Roosh back. He's a member of Don Callis' family now, apparently.
Yeah.
Like, he's an awesome wrestler. I'm just kind of surprised, they're not really doing much with him.
Yeah, there's still a couple people on the roster. I'm like, what are they doing? Why are they not doing anything with these people? And
Maybe they're waiting for Roosh to have another match with Jack Perry.
Well, I think Roosh needs to take this in his own head. Maybe they're going to wait till they have Roosh versus Roosh clone again. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Where he beat the crap out of a guy that looked exactly like him?
Yeah, I do remember that.
Yeah.
So after the match, the Acclaim's music hits. They come out to the stage, and Dax says, it sounds, because Castor's trying to talk, but his mic wasn't working. So Dax says, it sounds like the mic people don't want you to talk tonight either. I have all the respect for all you've done for AEW, but this goes beyond AEW. This is about the tag titles. I'm not as eloquent as you are, so let's just throw hands. So a brawl breaks out. Of course, pull-apart brawl happens. Security breaks it all up.
So my prediction on this is Young Bucks are going to retain at All In and the Acclaimed. Because this is probably going to be, has it even been announced? This is going to be a 3-way, right?
Has not been announced.
Okay. It's got to be FTR, Acclaimed, Young Bucks. That's got to be the thing.
Probably.
You'd think. Acclaimed don't win. In fact, they might get pinned, and then they break up. Castor, see, every time, and maybe I'm wrong about this, he seems checked out.
Mm-hmm.
He just has vibe, as Meltzer likes to say. He's got the vibe of checked out. I don't have any inside information on this, but I am a student of human...
you said that many times.
Right, exactly. I'm a student of humanity, Larson. Yeah, he just seems checked out. And then saying, I'm the best wrestler alive, it's like he's workshopping his own solo phrases now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So after that, we got a Christian promo. He says, now it seems there's a problem at the top of the trios division. House of Black were the number 1 contenders and are looking to stake their claim once again. You have the Bang Bang Gang, the team we beat for these titles, looking for a rematch on this Saturday, on Collision. It's going to be those 2 teams. Winner becomes number 1 contender for the trios title, and the winner of that match will face the Patriarchy at All In. He says, you all act like children. Maybe what you need is a father, which is why I'll be the special guest referee for that match. So confirmed, Steve, if you tune into Collision this week, you will see Malachi.
Yeah, no. Well, they did the video package ahead of this for Collision, and it was like they showed that he was on last week. So
Missing
there
out,
you go.
dude.
There you go. Probably not going to tune in though. We had a hologram video package, and then Camille versus. So it was a 2-on-1 match. Camille versus Clara Carter and Jasmine Howe. And Camille obviously dominated this. Torture Rack Bomb, Dominator, covers them both for the win. Mercedes comes in. She puts her feet on both of them to sort of symbolize that she actually won that match. And then she dropped a promo. It wasn't the best promo in the world. She said, say hi to the Brick House, Camille. In North Carolina, say hello to your CEO. Don't even waste your breath chanting the DMD, though, because she's not here tonight. Shout out to my EVPs for suspending her, so we don't have to deal with that till All In. Poor Britt. She's the first ever woman signed here in AEW. You know what they say? Britt's the first, but never the best. I've never heard that saying before.
No.
Doesn't rhyme or anything.
Wasn't necessarily the strongest promo.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Britt's the rest, but not the best. That doesn't even work. Anyways, she says, but these 2 titles right here shows you I'm best wrestle. And then Tony Schiavone gets up, and he's like, hey, I've got news for you. The nebulous power structure here in AEW is in effect because Tony Khan has overruled the Elite and lifted Britt's suspension, and we have her via satellite. I mean, pre-recorded video.
Yeah, pre-recorded message, yes.
And then Britt shows up in the Tron. Mercedes, you can run, get me suspended, but this match is on. When I make a commitment to do something, I see it through till the end. Unlike you, We all know the second things don't go your way, or take your ball and go home. It's a WWE reference. And then she says, you're not the future. AEW is just flavor of the month for you. But for me, AEW is home. Go ahead and talk your talk. But this ends it all in. Well, I'll be the first to beat Mercedes Moné. Now I have 7 days to think about it. There is no confidence in her voice that she's going to win this match.
Well, she's not going to win this match.
That's probably why, then. That's probably why. She says, you have 7 days to think about how I'm going to get your hands on you. And if you think I won't, you can trust me. I'm a doctor. Yeah.
Yeah. Then we had our main event, Bryan Danielson. Sorry, there's Bryan Danielson video package. In advance of our main event, Bryan Danielson versus Jeff Jarrett. Ricky Steamboat, pro wrestling legend, joins commentary. Yeah, this match was a lot of fun. They went through the crowd, went to the concourse.
Boy, this went everywhere.
Yeah, suplexed each other on garbage cans. Mm-hmm. And not the thin aluminum stuff they bring in the ring, like the actual garbage cans up in the concourse.
Yeah.
I think they're on the campus of Wake Forest University based on the logo on the garbage cans. Mm-hmm. Yeah, this is an anything goes match, so there was a lot. I mean, Jarrett started the match by blasting Danielson in the back with the guitar during his entrance. Mm-hmm. Danielson was looking to take it easy in the road to All In. I don't know if that's exactly how you describe this.
Dude, I was about to text you and be like, I don't know if he should be in this match. Because you got All In. That's a big, big show.
I
like
know.
50,000 people there. And
after the match, after he gets the win, so he hits a knee plus with the chair in front of him. He kicked out of the stroke, though. Do you have an issue with anybody kicking out of the stroke?
Not only was it a stroke.
Oh, sorry, on the chair.
It was a stroke on the chair. That's disrespectful. That's disrespectful. Slap nuts.
So Jarrett's looking for
disappointed Larson.
Looking for the stroke again. Instead, Bryan sends Jarrett into a chair that Jeff had stepped in the corner earlier. Follows with the chair assisted knee plus for the win. And so Ricky Steamboat comes to the ring. Everybody's shaking hands, hugging. Steamboat raises both their hands. And then Swerve's music hits. So he walks out to the ramp and says, would you look here? Y'all see this, right? We just witnessed 3 legends of TBS programming. We got Jeff Jarrett. We got Ricky Steamboat. And now we get to see Swerve Strickland. So these are all men who have defined pro wrestling on this network. The difference between us and you, Bryan, is that we've all been world champions here. And the only thing standing between you and this title is Swerve Strickland. You're one of the greatest of all time, and that's why it's going to be a huge honor when I retire you at All In and your legacy becomes mine, and I will not hesitate to take that kill shot. Heck of a match you had. How are you feeling? Knee a little wobbly, because Danielson was limping after this match. Losing feeling in your fingers? If that's what Jeff Jarrett did to you, imagine what I'll do. A great test for you, though. How about I test myself, too? How about next week on Dynamite, I go one-on-one with Wheeler Yuta. This week I had to sit in the back, but next week I want you to have a front row seat so I get to show you why I am the most dangerous man in AEW.
Yeah.
It was good. It's good stuff.
Yeah, it was good stuff. It was all right. Would you like to answer some questions?
Let's answer some questions.
All right. I got the YouTube thread here.
Is there a question thread on the Patreon?
There should be. Let me
There
double
is
check.
not.
Oh, my God. No, dude, no. Go to the YouTube.
Very well.
Why did I just put that up? Yeah, is when my internet dropped out is when I hit go. And then but it didn't go.
But it didn't post.
We got 7 comments here. My spirit animal is a Dorito says, is there a toy you wanted as a child but never got and still want? OG Metal Optimus Prime for him.
No.
You guys were
really.
Ballers. Like, your parents had cable, like, in the early 80s before anybody else.
Well, that's not true.
Part of the
Not
1%.
before- No, hardly.
Yeah. Lost it all gambling. That's a lie. This is a blatant lie.
Yeah, massively. No, not really. And it's not because I had everything as a kid. I didn't. But, like, I don't know. I'm in my approaching my late 40s now, and I have better things to spend my money on than some toy I didn't get in the 80s.
Oh, yeah. So I don't want it now because I got too much shit. But when I was a kid, my parents got me the Constructicons, the set. One of them was busted, so it couldn't make the Constructicon thing, whatever his name was. And then they took it back, and I honestly don't remember what they replaced it with. I think it was something really lame. But yeah, because I loved the Volton Purple.
Yeah,
it was just a
great
killer combo. And so yeah, it was the original Constructicons. I had them, and that was the worst part. It's not this. Oh, I really wanted. I didn't get it.
You had it was ripped away from you.
I had it was ripped away from me. Yeah, it was horrible.
Ryan Gorman here says, "Is Dominic the first heel to ever turn more heel?" I'm sure it's
pretty
happened
awesome.
before.
It was pretty great though. He's already a bad guy, and then he went nuclear.
More bad guy.
Yeah. Dave Matushek says, "I don't understand this question."
Yeah, it's the reference that I don't understand. Let's see. I'm just trying to do something. Says, should AEW salvage Undisputed Kingdom or scrap it once Adam Cole returns? Also, should Adam Cole win the opportunity to challenge MJF for his Dynamite Diamond Ring? I mean, at this point, Adam Cole comes back. I don't mean if they care about continuity, which I don't know if they will by the time he comes back, because it's going to be about a year. If he does come back a heel, MJF is a heel. I mean, I doubt they're even going to feud at that point.
MJF is a bad guy. Adam Cole comes back as a good guy. Why not? Just have him feud. You know what I mean? Like, if he's healthy, the match will be good. Mm-hmm. You don't have to dig into you don't have to bring out the mask, and you don't have to, necessarily overtly be like, oh, well, let's pick up where we left off. But given where last time we saw Adam Cole, where MJF gave him like a brainbuster or whatever it was.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might as well, why not? You know
At
what I
least
mean?
See it through in some capacity.
They did have good chemistry.
They did.
So I don't see a reason why you don't. You just don't have to, you just don't have to be like, oh, we're just going to pick up where we left off.
Mm-hmm.
Ryan Gorman says, assuming SmackDown gets as much creative energy and juice as Monday, what are some things you'd like to see happen? Hikuleu, surprise new challenger for LA Knight, Motor City.
Oh, yeah, it'd be cool to see Motor City Machine Guns. I mean, I guess it's entirely possible, depending on the timing, that we could see Lucha Brothers show up on SmackDown for the debut.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Roman's coming back. So, not a terrible time maybe to debut Hikuleu. I don't know. A Roman Jacob Fatu stare down, which we were robbed of from at SummerSlam, but maybe they want to hold that off more.
Yeah, I mean, if Jacob was supposed to sell leg after that splash, it was probably intentional to save that for a different moment.
Yeah.
Blind Cinephile here says, who have been your favorite and least favorite reigns for the titles in AEW?
Oh, least favorite is probably when Hobbs. There's a lot of titles. I'm not going to go through them all. But Hobbs in the TNT title because he was with QT Marshall.
Helped him win it. Yeah, that was a letdown.
That was a letdown. Yeah.
We were so stoked to see Hobbs win the title that night and then have QT help him. Mm-hmm. It was such a letdown.
Favorite reign for a title?
I mean, the favorite reign for the world title is probably Kenny's.
Kenny. The belt collector stuff was my favorite.
I wouldn't say it's my least favorite, but kind of the most muddled was that whole thing where Mox was interim champ and then squashed Phil and it was actual champion for a week or two and then Phil to beat him.
Yeah.
It was just it was clunky.
Yeah.
It was clunky.
Jonathan Vieira says, what's your favorite insult from a movie?
Wow.
I like when Biff Tannen at the beginning of Back to the Future 1 just openly referred to Marty McFly as a butthead right in front of his dad. What are you looking at, butthead?
Yeah, that's good.
Like, the fuck, bro? That's my kid, asshole.
Yeah. Yeah, butthead's good.
Also, another movie that I love, There Will Be Blood. When the Union Oil guys showed up and he put the napkin on his head and he said, did you hear Union Oil is digging for whatever? They want the bandy track. And they're like, okay. And he's like, I'll come into your house and I'll slit your throat. And he's like, Daniel, completely out of pocket. Tell me about the Peachtree Dance. Anyways.
I think that's all we got here.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for the show today. Apologies, I should say, to the live crowd that were expecting the show today, but I had internet issues at the time. Evidently, they've been resolved.
Yes, apparently streaming was the source of issues.
Yeah, I guess so. So we stopped doing that, and then everything got better. But I don't like if there's the possibility that it's going to be glitchy, I don't like diving into that situation because it just adds problems for me.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
there's anxiety associated with all that.
Yeah. Anyways, that's going to do it for the show today. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Until next time, we'll see you guys around.
Goodbye.